Yeah,
some interesting numbers here.
All right,
so
let me
remember,
hear the
they
numbers.
had Kelsey at center, and when he left, everybody was like, oh, that's a huge loss. They still did a lot of tush push. The numbers, the Eagles have run it 108 times since 2022. The second most team, Buffalo Bills at 55. So a half, basically, of the amount of times the Eagles have run it. Third most team is your Bears, 16. Basically, the Eagles are the only ones doing this. The Bills are trying. It failed miserably against the Chiefs. So why would everybody want to ban it? Why don't they at least try it?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. Jalen Hurts squats 600 pounds. He is a unique player for it, and he's also short. So you get this like power lifter body behind the best offensive line in football. So some of it's just personnel realities. A lot of it's that. Most quarterbacks, Justin Herbert 6'5", Josh Allen 6'6", or they don't squat 600 pounds. They're big targets. Like Josh Allen jumping over the line is a huge target. Nor do they have the offensive line. So Philadelphia has this uniquely built quarterback, short and a power lifter body, and then they have a great O-line, so it works for them. That's the argument to keep it, is they have personnel advantages. The argument to get away from it is it can be a bit dangerous when you have people.
There's no evidence of that. It could be dangerous, but there's no evidence of Eagles who run it 108 times. Injuries, where are they? So this danger angle, I think you got to toss that out.
How about this angle? It's a repetitive play that's bad TV.
I mean, I think every Eagles fan on the planet would argue against that team. It's automatic. They're running it at a 87% clip. I mean, it's working. It's automatic. Why would you want to ban it? I just don't get that.
Well, PATs were automatic. Kickoff touchbacks were automatic. The league has a history of getting off of things that are boring.
So are you surprised that because the Eagles have had so much success, other teams haven't been like, hey, we could have a backup quarterback like a Taysom Hill be our tush push guy? Like, why not?
Why didn't everybody copy the triangle offense with Phil Jackson? Because they didn't have Kobe or Michael. Why didn't you ask yourself, everybody in the world, why the Lakers are the only team running this brilliant offense? Because Michael Jordan was unstoppable in it, and the only other player in league history that was 90% Michael was Kobe Bryant. And so a lot of it's personnel.
So you just put Jalen Hurts in the Michael.
Well, I think Jalen Hurts is a 600-pound powerlifting, 5'11 and a half guy that gets behind the best O-line. It's a personnel advantage. That's the Eagles' best argument is we just got better players at this. And they do. They're uniquely built. If Jalen Hurts is 6'6", it doesn't work as well. He's a target. Like Jaden Daniels is not a player I would do this with because Jalen's he's got a thinner body frame.
Well, remember, the Bills were doing it with Josh Allen.
I hated
totally
it.
work against the Chiefs. I mean, Josh Allen's a tank.
I hated it. I thought it was terrible for Buffalo. I think it makes him a target where he's holding the ball up. I think that's so uncreative. I mean, if they're the second best team in the league at doing it, that shows you the separation between the Eagles and the rest of the league.
They have kind of hacked the tush push, and it works for them, and it's unstoppable.
Well, for instance, in baseball, Joe Madden created the defensive shift. And then a lot of teams started copying the defensive shift. And it hurt. By the way, it was effective. And it hurt the aesthetics of the sport. And so baseball's like, this is not good for the sport. It wasn't illegal. Joe Madden just thought of it and thought, we're going to put the second baseman in right field. But baseball looked at it after 5 or 6 years and said, we got all these great players like Bryce Harper lining out to right field. We want them on the bases. The only reason you get rid of the defensive shift, it's bad for television.
So maybe that's it. We wait 5 years of the tush push, get 5 years of it. If it's that bad and ugly and boring, then maybe they outlaw it.
Listen, I got takes today.
He said no. I don't know if you heard that. He was like, no. Listen, we've already talked about this a lot, and I don't want to repeat the takes. But this whole idea that it's repetitive and boring, oh my gosh. It's so absurd. It's so absurd because they're acting like the Philadelphia Eagles do it 15 times a game. And listen to what J-Mac said. This is the numbers.
The Eagles have run it 108 times since 2022.
108 times since 22. So 3 seasons. 3 seasons, and I assume we're factoring in playoffs, so that's now 2 Super Bowl runs. The Eagles had a bye in 22, I believe, right? They played the Giants and the 49ers and then Super Bowl, I believe, right? Didn't they have the bye? Obviously, this last season they didn't, so then they had the 3 playoff games and then the Super Bowl. So you're talking about a fair amount of a fair amount of games. You know, even if we just did regular season, they would be averaging like a couple times a game. A couple times a game? That's something where you're just like, no, this has to be banned? Come on. And you're saying that that's so repetitive and boring? Please tell me, if the Philadelphia Eagles are so repetitive and boring, why are they one of the most watched teams in the NFL? Across the country, by the way. Not just like, oh, well, Philadelphia, it's a big market. Yeah, it is. Then why are they one of the most popular teams, though, beyond just Philadelphia? Why is it that everyone loves talking about this tush push? Everyone talking about it. There's even multiple names for it. Tush push, brotherly shove. Everyone keeps talking about it. It's a talking point, and a positive talking point. And commentators are like, all right, you know what's coming. Here comes the tush push. And everyone's like, oh, are they going to be able to stop it? Are they going to be able to stop it? You know, and everyone gets locked in because you're like, is this going to be the time that they get stopped? And then if they do get stopped because it's not automatic, so stop saying it's 100% automatic. It's like, oh my God, they just stopped them. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. People watch more closely the tush push than an extra point. Do people really lock in for an extra point? I know there's been some more misses than extra point, but when your team's watching, unless it's the playoffs and it's a tight game and you know, like, oh boy, you know, we really need this extra point. Again, Eagles fans will know because Elliott was missing a couple field goals where you really are kind of like, oh my gosh, man, please just make, even in the Super Bowl, you're like, bro, you better make this 7-0 and not 6-0. You know, you're not going to lose to the Chiefs by 1 point because you can't make an extra point. So outside of those moments, when it's week 3 and the score is 20-7, are you like, oh my God, extra point? Come on, man, extra point. No, you're not. You're not doing that at all. And if it's a miss, especially if it's like the opposing team, you're like, oh, that's great. Haha, only 6 points. You know, and you like, you move on. But you're not, even if you're the opposing team, you're not like, oh, come on, man, miss. Yes, that's right. It's only 7-6 instead of 7-7. Yeah. No one's bringing that energy for extra points at all. The tush push, you're locked in. You're like, oh man, the Eagles are going to do it on their own 35? And you're like, oh, dude, if they don't get this. And then if you're the opposing team, you're like, come on, man, big stop here, big stop. We'll get the ball on the 35. Let's go. It's big time. Like, it's actual excitement. I don't know what we're making up here. And then we got to have J-Mac, the fact checker, talking about, you know, the injuries. Like, where's the data on that? And it's true. Like, what are we saying here? How many times has there been a tush push? And then you hear the do, like whatever the music is when there's like an injury, when it's like injuries and they like lead in. Like, I like how they always try to play us like kind of like soothing, like elevator music to be like, oh, don't worry, this guy just can't move and he's unconscious. Like, let's go to commercial. And it's like do. How many times have you seen that happen? Like, never? Like, truly never? So I don't understand. You know what's not exciting? Watching a quarterback scramble and then slide. That's not exciting. Why is that exciting? When has that ever been exciting? Watching someone run and then just like slide. And again, I'm happy that they can slide. I don't want quarterbacks to be knocked out of games. Like, so I'm happy about that. And I already did the whole take of like, you know, exploiting that and going the inbounds and sliding and getting hit. So I'm not rehashing that take. But if we're going to talk about like what's boring, and like I had already talked about how bad it's bad, you know, entertainment to watch the, these bad roughing the passer calls and all of that. Like I really try my best to not rehash take after take after take. But like, that's boring. That's definitely boring. You know what's also boring? When football was, you have 3 downs and the 4th down you just punt. That's boring. Go watch some old football games. Like, you're actually kind of like, there's like no energy to this. There's no excitement. Yeah, it's 3rd and 5. You really want your team to like convert and you're excited. You're like, come on, baby, come on, let's go. But when they go for it on 4th and 2, you're like everything's more intense. You're like, all right, baby, like, like here we go. Like you're locked in. You're locked in. And then what's more exciting? The Eagles now punting or getting a new set of downs and now being able to continue their offense. Like, I don't understand. If this was somehow being exploited for 2-point conversions, I could see the argument. If the Eagles were able to pretty much always get 8 instead of 7, I could see that. I could actually see an argument more for that, to be like, and it really is automatic. Like, you're doing this at a 95% rate. I could kind of see the argument. And I do believe that if this is something that everyone eventually finds the ability to do, like the shift for baseball, because I was very much against that and ripped the Major League Baseball for not, changing that sooner, because it did ruin baseball, quite frankly. Yeah, but that's not what's happening right now. But sure, if all these teams are doing it, and now everyone's able to like really convert pretty automatically, and now there's really no extra excitement around 4th downs, then yeah, I would say they should probably, figure something else out. Unless it still also leads to some excitement. If now it still leads to, again, like more offensive plays or what. I don't know. Like, there's still a way, if in theory you had all these teams or 25 teams or so being able to convert it at the rate of the Eagles, does that still actually technically add up to being a net positive? Or is it really kind of like, all right, this isn't that interesting? Or does it become more exciting that when there is a game and you do stop them, because you're going to have more teams now do it, they're going to feel like it's so automatic, and so when they're on their own 30, they're going to try to do it, and then they don't get it, and now that really changes the game. And again, now you're either, cursing off your own team to being like, why are you going for it on your own 30? I don't care that it was 4th and 1, just punt the ball, which is also part of the entertainment. And then the excitement where, again, if you're the opposing team and you're like, that's right, we stopped them, let's go. Guaranteed field goal attempt, or not, because now they're going to maybe go. But like, you don't really know. You don't know. You don't know how it could unfold. I can see it unfolding both ways. I can see it actually being exciting, because now we're just going to have, it's not going to just be 3 and out as much. Or I could see it legitimately changing the entertainment value of the game. And if it does, then okay, then you plan accordingly. But it's just the Eagles right now. And so you're going to say let's ban this play because it's something that they do around twice a game? Huh? That's kind of absurd. I'm yet to hear, and that's why I wanted to listen to this, because I did the herd clip on like Monday, Tuesday, whatever it was, and now they're talking about it again. And at first I was like, I'm going to skip this. I've already made multiple videos on this, but I'm like, let me just see how this conversation is continuing to be had. And I'm yet to really see a great argument for why it should be banned. The biggest things are that it's boring and injuries, and there's no injuries and there's no boredom. And again, and this is where I'm kind of confident with my take, because if there were injury issues, then I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. Let's see if we can mitigate that. And if it truly was boring and everyone was doing it, and it was inhibiting the product, then yes, entertainment overall. I'm a firm believer in that as well. It is what has really hurt baseball and basketball. And I do not want to see that happen to football. So yeah, if all these teams are doing it and it got really boring and it became too predictable, and we lost some of the excitement, around the NFL, then yeah, ban it. I would legitimately support it. I really would. But considering how this is going right now, it's really kind of absurd to think that this one team that obviously does it way more successfully, but still relatively speaking twice a game. If they did it like 10 times a game, I could understand that actually as well. If the Eagles just did this like every time we watched the Eagles, and it was like essentially like every drive we got that, I could also understand that. Even if it was just the Eagles and they were just able to do it every single drive, at least once, right? So they were now averaging like 100 tush pushes a game. Not a game, a season. Yeah, again, after I just went on this whole rant, I would still be like, yeah, I don't know now. Like that seems probably like this is too much. And it is kind of changing things in a way that I'm not sure we want to go there. Then yeah, I would be supportive of that as well. Or if things really start to get manipulated where it becomes so valuable, right, that they actually have a player on the roster now specifically for the tush push. The teams are signing, I don't know if they would draft a player, but like they're specifically finding, players to do this. It's become its own special teams position. Then I would be like, all right, I don't know now. Like now this feels a little bit differently now. We kind of have like a separate kind of squad for this. But that's not what it is. That's obviously not what's happening. And until those things happen, if they ever do, there's no reason to ban it. This is like self-censorship. This is like, I'm not going to make this show, this cartoon, this joke or whatever out of fear for the random people online who are going to get mad at me. And it's like, well, who cares about those random people? Funny is funny. Make your joke. And so those people are angry about it. But you're going to have this whole sea of other people that are totally supportive of it. And we really fell into that trap like 2016, 17, 18, 19. I feel like we slowly started to get away from that. But everybody was trying to get ahead of it all. And they were trying to self-censor everything before anything was even done. And I feel like we've kind of done a good job of kind of surviving that period of time. And now we've kind of, moved on from that. And it's like, listen, we're going to say some stuff. Some people are going to be offended. Some people are not. Whatever. Life. Freedom of speech. Let's go. And they're now trying to be like, well, let's ban this now because of what maybe could happen. What could happen? We don't know. We don't know. And a team is legitimately benefiting from it. And you're now going to take that away from them. That just seems absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane. But those are just my continued thoughts on this never-ending conversation about the tush push. What do you guys all think? Do you think it should be banned? But also I'm curious, do you think it will be banned? Because we've already kind of talked about, especially a lot of people that are watching this, like if you think, I'm curious at this point, do you think it will be? Like how do you think actually the NFL will handle this? The owners voting, etc. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.